welcome inside Coors Field. It was raining earlier this afternoon, so neither team was able to take batting practice out on the field. But despite overcast skies, we're going to get off on time this evening. The Rockies will take on the Dodgers tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday afternoon. Then Colorado will have an off day on Thursday. Rockies wearing their Monday purple. Chase Utley, longtime Philadelphia Philly, switched the bat well of late. He'll lead things off for Dave Roberts. Here's the Southwest batting order tonight for the Dodgers, and they've had a very robust second half with the bats. Howie Kendrick, Corey Seager, who looks like the leader right now for the National League Rookie of the Year, batting .321 with more than 20 home runs. Adrian Gonzalez has really come on. Yasmani Grandal as well. Josh Reddick has not really struggled. More on that since the trade. Jock Peterson, Rob Segedin will play third base for Justin Turner tonight. He's just getting a night off. So Utley settles into the batter's box, and John Gray is ready to go. First pitch of the night's off the corner, ball one at 94 miles an hour. Utley in 81 career games, a .315 hitter against the Rockies.
But just 1 for 11 career against John Gray.
And that pitch is swung on and fouled off down the left field line.
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, John's looking for his first win since he beat the Dodgers back on August 2nd. That was a 7-3 Rockies victory. National League West opponents are hitting .192 against John this year. We kind of saw it a little bit in Milwaukee. First 2 innings are really going to tell a lot about John tonight.
I'll tell you what, if Tom Hallion gives him that pitch all night, well, it's going to be a long night for the Dodgers.
It will be. The key tonight, 2 pitches, his slider, but his changeup. He's been throwing his changeup a lot more because his slider hasn't been what it was earlier in the year. But you take that strike on the Subaru strike zone down and away every day of the week.
There's the slider. Good movement on it. He liked the bite. It was too low, though. 2-2. And again, that was the pitch that he had once again in Milwaukee that had eluded him, if you will, in his previous few starts.
And the late break to it. I think that is the key for John, is to have that late movement.
And the fastball is rifled into right field, a base hit. That was at 97 miles an hour, and obviously much harder than that going out. So leadoff single for Utley on a 64-degree evening, and defensively the Rockies will have David Dahl in left field, Charlie Blackmon in center, and Carlos Gonzalez in right field. Daniel Descalso again playing shortstop. LeMahieu is his double play partner. Parra is at first base again. He did a nice job there yesterday as the Rockies 5-3 rubber game victory in our nation's capital. And the bunt by Kendrick is caught in the air to first.
Cat-like reflexes from John hopping off there. Not sure if he was going to be able to get that glove underneath the baseball, but he certainly did. Howie Kendrick trying to bunt that ball. I don't even know which direction he was trying to bunt it, because it goes right back to the pitcher. Shoot top catch on the Subaru Supermo, but Chase Utley had nothing going to second base. But still, for him to get off there and get that lead out.
So here's Corey Seager, the precocious rookie, who is tied with Gene Segura for most hits in the National League with 162, and he takes low. Dodgers won yesterday against the Cubs. They took 2 of 3 from Chicago, and had they not blown a ball game on Friday night in the 9th inning, they could have swept the Cubs. They won 1-0 yesterday for Dave Roberts. 5 pitchers combined on that shutout. And the lone run came because a hustling Corey Seager beat a throw to second on what would have been a force out to end the inning. There was a runner on third. He was ruled safe, run scores, and that was it offensively for either team.
Yeah, the throw had to really take the second baseman a long time to get over there. Third baseman should have just gone to first on it, but he didn't. He chose to go to second, but Corey hustled down there, beat it by a toenail.
As Vince Scully described it, yeah. And you know what? Adrian Gonzalez, there was another great description. They said, I forget, somebody on Twitter said, and had he thrown to first, Adrian Gonzalez is just getting there now. So to your point, poor decision. And that was it. The only run of the ball game. Here's the 2-1 on Seager, and that one misses. 3-1.
Well, the Dodgers only scored 8 runs in those 3 games against the Cubs, yet they went 2 out of 3. It tells you what kind of pitching they've been getting. They knocked Jason Hamill out of the ball game against the Cubs.
It's not unusual to see that kind of weekend at Dodger Stadium. Low-scoring games. Seager geared up for the fastball, and he takes outside. It was a heater, but it missed. So that puts 2 on for a guy you never want to see, and that's Adrian Gonzalez.
I hate to keep harping on this, but it's
I know
the
where
way.
you're going.
Yeah, it's the first and second innings for John. He has a 6.06 ERA, and the rest of the way 3.63. I know you try to do things differently in the bullpen. I've heard guys say, well, I'll try to simulate that first inning. I'll try to do that. It's a great plan to have, but it doesn't pay off a lot of times when you come out onto the real hill.
Gonzalez went. You check it out at third, and you get the strike call from Adam Amari. Adrian, a week ago, hit 3 home runs in a ball game in Philadelphia. Second time in his career he's hit a trio of home runs in one day. He drove in a career best 8. Last 21 games, he's hitting .373 with 7 home runs and 24 driven in. Fouled back. He's got a lot of life on the fastball, Huey.
98 on that, 97 on that last pitch. On the gun here at the stadium, it said 98 either way. That's a lot of life.
At that point in time, does it really matter?
Anything above 95 doesn't really matter. This is where Adrian is so adept at hitting, though, the other way against the shift.
Got him to chase on a curveball. Well done. 2 out. By the way, I said with Adrian Gonzalez, he had 3 home runs in Philly. Yeah, he had 3 home runs in Cincinnati. Not the same
Both
type of ballpark.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Confused me.
Last pitch from John. Oh, good look on the Subaru Supermo. How he really rotates and pulls down on that pitch to get Adrian Gonzalez out front.
One of the reasons, Huey, that the Dodgers have really picked it up offensively in the second half is because of Yasmani Grandal. Does not have the big average, but he's got 21 home runs, most of any catcher in the league. And he's hit 15 home runs in his last 47 games. That basically replicates the second half.
Exactly, and he's hitting .286 during that time. So when he before was hitting 6, maybe 7, now he's more up into an RBI spot, and the 5th in the lineup today with Justin Turner out of the game.
And the other guy who's really gone off, he's not in the lineup tonight, is Justin Turner. Boy, he was tardy on that pitch. And it's 0-2. You have a guy who's got a lot of chase in his game. What I mean, you know what I mean by that. You do not have to throw him a strike here to get him out. Up 0-2.
He's also just hitting 185 on the road. So you have that slider like you just, or the curveball like you just threw to Adrian Gonzalez if you want that, or a slider down and in.
We go fastball up. Like the location at 98.
Well, and I like what Nick was doing too. He was trying to deke the runner at second base and Chase Utley, where he was looking down, but he had already determined that they were going up with that pitch. That way you can't relay a location. One,
2. Good block. 2-2. find catchers sometimes will be intentionally a little noisy.
Yes.
You know, move inside, but try to make it subtly known that, oh, I'm in here, when you know you're going to jump outside before the pitch.
You know, how many times have we seen catchers when they're inside, they'll pound their glove to make it sound to that hitter like, oh, he's inside. But then you know as a hitter, he's hopping out. He's not going to stay in there. So catchers will do that. They'll move around during day games when the sunlight and the shadows. They'll really play with you that way too.
2-2, 2 on, 2 outs, just underway at Coors Field. Rockies and Dodgers. Shot, strike 3. Tom Hallion will always let you know. That was a beautiful curveball. That ends the inning. Couple of strikeouts of dangerous men in Gonzalez and Grandal. Curveball on the back door. In a row inside the NL West. The Rockies come in a game over 500 at home. Charlie Blackmon has had one special August. He has 11 home runs in the month of August. In fact, here's Walt Weiss's Southwest batting order. DJ will bat second, then Cargo will bat third. Nolan, who's having a terrific couple of weeks, he'll bat cleanup. David Dahl homered yesterday. Gerardo Parra, Nick Hundley, Daniel Descalso, and John Gray against Kenta Maeda. Maybe the 4th time Huey will be the charm, because the Rockies have been befuddled frequently by Maeda, who will throw any pitch in any count.
And that's why you're befuddled by him, because you don't know what's coming. 13 wins, that's the most for Major League rookies. And here it is. You just don't know when he's going to throw any of those pitches in any count. He'll also give you that hesitation where he'll come up, he'll hesitate. The slider, guys are hitting 179, changeup 136. The one pitch that gets hit hard is a curveball, a 386 average against the curveball.
Charlie bounces this one to Adrian Gonzalez. 1 out. How about Charlie? I want to talk about steady Eddie. Blackmon comes into tonight hitting .317 at home with 10 home runs. He's hitting .317 out on the road with 13 home runs. 1 out. That'll bring up LeMahieu, who just happens to be the leading hitter in the National League. Started the day 1 point ahead of Washington's Daniel Murphy. You know, Murphy in his first at bat tonight did not get a hit. And I think he just got one. Actually, he's got a couple now, so he's moved ahead by a point. He's 2 for 3. So Murphy's bumped ahead to 345. I apologize, DJ. You're not leading the league in hitting anymore. You're down a point.
Well, by the end of the night, probably be right back above. I mean, that's what was fun when we were just in Washington watching these guys. I know it's not a head-to-head game, it's a team game, but these two guys, each time they come to the plate, recalculating their average.
Yeah. Here is it. Here it is up to the minute. 3:45 now from Murphy with a couple knocks this evening. DJ's had success against Maeda, one of the few guys who has. He's 3 for 8 against Maeda. He's got a 2-0 count to work with. This is rarely a fastball. It is right there.
But that's even the doubt of, is he going to throw a fastball 2-0? DJ didn't pull the trigger because he's thinking, well, it could go slider, could go changeup.
That's up 3-1.
Still checking down to first. DJ caught a break because that did nip the top of the Subaru strike zone.
So here's the 3-1. And that ball's pulled through the left side. Here I come, Daniel Murphy. 1-out single for Mr. LeMahieu.
Yeah, both Daniel and DJ yesterday were 0 for 4. So there's a, well, that happens once in a blue moon.
It ain't going to happen 2 days in a row. It just does not. Here's the defenders for the Dodgers. They are the best team defensively in baseball. They've made the fewest errors, highest fielding percentage. Corey Seager's made 13 errors, and you know, for a rookie playing on the left side, playing a premier spot like shortstop, that's not bad.
Not at all. .988 fielding percentage. That's one reason why the Dodgers are where they are. They just don't give you that extra out, the 28th or 29th out.
So here's Cargo. Last couple days, Huey showing signs of coming out of a slump in which he was 1 for 21. Hit that long home run to center late Saturday when the Rockies pulled away from Washington. And yesterday hit the ball hard a couple times.
Yeah, and his second at bat had the really hard ground ball up the middle, lined out in his last at bat in the 9th inning. A couple flyouts to center field, so you're seeing that progress, and I think that home run that he hit made a big difference. Just tracking the ball better now.
The Rockies overall, game plan wise, are tracking the ball nicely against Maeda early in this game. They're getting in hitters' counts.
And when you've seen somebody now the 4th time this year, you have a better scouting report on what they throw. Maeda's not intimidated by throwing here at Coors Field. 2 starts already this year, 1 out in LA. But that is the key, to lay off that changeup.
3-0 with Nolan on deck. Rockies are 5-7 against the Dodgers this year. That's a strike. They've actually played better at Dodger Stadium against LA than they have here at Coors Field. They're 2-4 at home, 3-3 in Tinseltown against the Dodgers.
Against the NL West on the season, the Rockies are 24-26.
(3-1). So a full count. Cargo facing Kenta Maeda.
Boy, this shift here, this is the 3rd baseman way over. They left the shortstop Corey Seager on his side of the diamond.
Just got a piece. It's interesting. You know, in Cargo's mind, he thinks he's going to see something soft. 3-1, 3-2, and he got probably Maeda's best fastball. And he's not an overpowering guy. He's 91 with both of those last heaters.
But that last swing, again, we've seen it a few times with Cargo this year. His bottom hand came off of the bat. A little unusual. for a sinking fastball.
And Cargo spit on it, and now you have 2 on for Nolan Arenado. Well, how about Nolan the last few days? Time for his Mako big hit. There's a lot to choose from. Yesterday, early in the ball game, he lines the ball into the flower bed in left field.
Those would be begonias.
I knew you'd know the name of them. That was with Cargo aboard, a 2-out home run, get the Rockies going. 4 for 4 yesterday. The only thing he was missing was a double. He had a good fortune triple, a fly ball to right that Bryce Harper lost in the sun.
Originally ruled an error, but then they changed it a couple innings later, and he was standing on deck when the last out was made in the top of the 9th.
It's so interesting with Nolan, and I think with guys like Nolan and Cargo who can put up absurd numbers in a short amount of time. I mean, now he's arguably the hottest guy in baseball. He's 16 for his last 29, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs. Wasn't it just a few days ago we were talking about Nolan's in a slump, and Walt was getting
Yes.
that question on a daily basis. That's a strike, 1-1.
And a 1.766 OPS.
You know, Nolan's been good lately, but his bat's been even better. And you're saying, what are you talking about? Well, his bat hit 5 home runs yesterday.
It hit 1.
One that he was using,
Right.
one that Tulowitzki was using, and 3 that Josh Donaldson was using. One and 2. So yesterday, here's Josh Donaldson. Not 1, not 2, but 3.
And I think only in Toronto would you get what came right after that, though.
It's a hockey town.
Yeah, hat trick. There they go. Throwing the hats out onto the field.
But again, Nolan had given Tulo a couple of bats, and one of them found their way to Josh Donaldson. And so lately, there's all the hats he collected. Feels like a regular Joe Sakic. So he his bat, a bat that with his name on it produced 5 home runs. In fact, Nolan was telling us that Tulo ordered, this is Tulo being superstitious, he ordered Nolan's bat with Nolan's name on it. He had Nolan's approval to do that.
It sounds like something Helton would do.
That's
too.
something Helton would do, or Tulowitzki. Yes, I'd like an order of bats, and okay, so Troy, normal signature. No, I don't want my name on it. I want Nolan Arenado's name on it.
And Josh Donaldson already tonight has hit another one.
Oh man. 3-1 in Baltimore. Two on for the Rockies, 2 and 2 on Arenado. Trying to get a quick jump on Kenta Maeda.
So far out of the 19 pitches for Maeda, who is a strike thrower extraordinaire, he has more balls than strikes. 10 balls, 9 strikes.
I think that speaks to the game plan. The Rockies are not swinging at borderline pitches against Maeda. And Maeda able to strike out Nolan. 2 outs. And that'll bring up David Dahl. Dahl, the only man in the Rockies lineup that actually owns a home run against Maeda. 1 for 3 in his matchups.
David hit the home run back against Maeda on August 5th. Center field.
Yesterday,
Think about these home runs, though, for David. The 4 of his 5 home runs have come either to center field or left center field, like the ball he hit yesterday.
yeah, he went out to left center last night, yesterday afternoon. Rockies making Maeda work in the first inning. Trying to get a marker on the board. DJ's at second. He singled. Cargo walked. Dahl has now hit 29 of his first 32 major league games. Tied the major league record with a 17-game hitting streak to begin his career.
For David Dahl in the 3 games, 0 hits, but the 20 games just Mr. Steady, where he had 1 hit, 6 games, 2 hits, 3 games already in his young career where he's had 3 hits in a ball game.
That's more like what we see from Maeda.
Tonight.
A 2-0 curveball.
And tonight, the first 5 guys that he's faced, he has not thrown a first pitch strike.
Spent a number of years with the Hiroshima Carp. 3-1. Hara's on deck. Maeda in his last 6 is 5-0 with a 3.74 ERA. 2-0 with a 1.50 ERA here at 20th and Blake. Dahl drives this ball to left center field and deep. Kendrick going back, still going back, makes the catch. So David Dahl gave it a ride, and the former second baseman Howie Kendrick shows a lot of range out there in left center field. Great play by Howie Kendrick. Maybe the wind held up that drive by David Dahl as well, as we check in with Ryan Spilborg. Spilly.
Yeah, both pitchers having trouble with the first inning, but more importantly for Jon Gray, it has been a stretch for him. The first 2 innings, a 7 ERA career-wise. So we asked Nick Hundley today, what gets Jon Gray through these first 2 innings?
If we can keep that same intensity from the first pitch to the last, and that's you know, a growth with everybody. You know, a lot of big time guys struggle early on, and that's kind of a rallying cry for offenses. If you know, the top line guys, if you don't get them early, you're probably not going to get them.
Well, Walt Weiss mentioned as well for Jon Gray, he needs to make sure he's able to grab that slider. It's an unbelievable play by DJ again. And so far we've seen for Jon Gray that the fastball inside is working, the slider is there. Now it's time for him to move forward with it. Guys?
Spilly, I've been watching the second baseman.
He's good.
He's good. Good player.
He was real good on this play too, because it was hit hard to his right. Once you field it. You know you have some time, but you don't have time to stand up. So he throws it from his knees with a strong arm on the Subaru Supermo, getting Josh by 2 steps. And John Gray, you should like that.
Josh Reddick retired, and that'll bring up another left-handed bat, Jock Peterson. The Rockies keep the shift on.
Well, guys, it's starting to rain down here, and my hair is covered by insurance. And if I do get water on this hair, the insurance is null and void. So I got to find some cover.
You can come up here, bud.
Okay. See you in a bit.
No, actually, you can't.
Okay, I'll stay out in the rain and cry.
All right.
Thanks, Drew.
What kind of gel? What kind of gel you got in there?
It's all natural. It's just it stands like that. Come on, man. What kind of product do you use, Drew?
Not as much as I used to.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Don't get wet.
1-1 on Peterson. Outside, 2-1. Top of the 2nd inning. You gonna battle this all night, Huey? What do you have?
I think maybe the showers off and on. It was heavier this afternoon. Had the tarp on. No batting practice for either team. A nice little window there for a moment. I think we'll be fine. We'll get this in. No problem.
You just hate to have a game interrupted for any significant period of time. The obvious reason from a pitching standpoint is that managers are loath to have an hour-plus delay and then strut your starter back out. John Gray just blew away Jock Peterson. 2 outs, 3rd strikeout for John. That'll bring up Rob Seguin. This is an interesting young man. Here's his first major league home run, 27-year-old who is tearing up the PCL. And then this ball he hit out was really special because that was in a blowout victory over the Giants, 15-1. And in the middle of the game, he gets a call. His wife has gone into labor with their first child, and he departs the game in the middle, gets fortunately to the hospital in time, hit a home run for his baby boy that was born 50 minutes after the conclusion of that game.
The name Robinson.
Yeah, his nickname's Rob Seguin. His wife is Robin.
Yeah, and so that's why they just followed the progression. Their son's name is Robinson.
It's going to be easy.
It's easy.
Yep.
What a story, though.
Here's the 2-1. Hold on, I missed 2-2. And one other note, the hospital in which Robin gave birth, the next day was an off day for the Dodgers, and a number of Dodgers were going there to visit children who were not doing well, and they made their way after visiting and raising the spirits of some young kids, made their way to congratulate Rob and Robin. 3-2, fouled off.
John's proud of his fastball tonight. Well, he should be. Blew away Jock Peterson with the high fastball. Last pitch at 97 miles an hour.
Line to left, a base hit. So Seguin with the 2nd hit for the Dodgers. And that'll bring up Kenta Maeda. Fans join in on the conversation. We ask you to send us your statements, questions, photos. Use Twitter or Instagram, and you must include the hashtag Toyota Talk. Maeda has a home run this year. It came against the Padres. Pretty good swing.
Yes, it was a real good swing.
So you're Nick Hundley, you're thinking, may have to spin one at one point here.
Yeah, so off that fine line, what do? Do you throw him the fastball because you can overpower? But if you throw a breaking pitch and you hang it,
see,
then you speed up his bat.
Yeah, that wasn't the same swing
No.
we saw in the first pitch.
Well, it's a different location. I think you just don't mess around. Throw a fastball up and away from him. It's away, but not quite up enough.
I'm thinking throw the heater in. You didn't want to swing and get sawed off.
No, that's why you stay away from it.
Slider will get the job done. 4 strikeouts first tour through the lineup for John Gray. Middle of inning number 2. We have no score at Coors Field. Rockies and Dodgers. Billboards, I'm Drew Goodman. Here's our Office Liquidator Series storylines. No gray areas. John Gray looking for his first win since August the 2nd, and it came against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it could be a record-breaking month. There's a number of Rockies that are chasing franchise records. Chance to get back in the race. Rockies next 19, all inside the National League West.
Arizona after this at home, then San Francisco. You go out on the road for 4 in San Diego, 3 in Arizona.
"32 games left. Basically a month of baseball. Here's Gerardo Parra, and Gerardo takes an off-speed pitch for a strike. I don't know what's going on, Huey. You know where I'm going.
All the walks.
Oh, I mean, a ton of them. 3 in the last 2 games for Gerardo after 4 in his first 300-plus plate appearances this year. There's 312 plate appearances, 4 walks, and he has 3 in the last 2 days.
When he had gone over 100 plate appearances in between his 3rd walk and his 4th walk, and then once he walked, then it only took him 1 plate appearance. He walked again, just to open the floodgates.
Right. 0-2.
Getting a lot of reps at first now.
You know, he's a good athlete.
Yeah, well, and he's
a guy that likes a challenge.
You know, even before he his name was in the lineup for playing first base, he would always mess around and take ground balls over there. So it wasn't like, oh, something completely foreign to him.
That's a good eye. 2-2. Rockies made Maeda work in the first frame. A couple men on. And that's 1 out. Second strikeout for Kenta Maeda.
They were trying to ask if that ball hit the ground first. He's just saying ask for some help. It's not a reviewable play if you're wondering at home.
Tom Hallion explaining that, I'm sure.
This will give us the best vantage point on the Subaru Supermo. Yeah, he's got a beef. It hit the ground first and then popped up into the glove. It'll still go down as a strikeout.
One out. Nick Hundley at the plate. Nick swinging the bat well. He's hitting 8 of his last 10, 326 average. Had a big ball game Friday night. Drove in 4 runs with a 3-run home run. Made things interesting late in that game with the 3-run bomb. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kenta Maeda had an interesting week, Huey. I mean, he was 13-7. He's leading the National League among rookie pitchers in virtually every meaningful category. He got sent out
to rookie ball, all the way down to Arizona.
Yep, got sent out to rookie ball. We're not making this up, folks. Actually, it was a procedural thing because the Dodgers wanted to save a roster spot and they needed a pitcher to make a start. And so yesterday, Brock Stewart started, went 5 strong innings, 8 strikeouts, part of that 5-man shutout of the Cubs. And then 4 days later, they bring back Maeda. They had no intention of Maeda missing a start. Maeda gets a strikeout of Hundley. And the reason you were able to do that, why don't you explain that, Jeff? Because normally, unless there's an injury, if you get sent out, you can't be called back for 10 days.
Correct. But since where he was optioned to in rookie ball, their season ended yesterday. So once their season ends, you can recall them, and that's what the Dodgers did. So it was really just a paper move. He never went down to Arizona. He never suited up with the Arizona Dodgers down in the Arizona League. He just stayed in LA and worked out. And Brock Stewart, for his efforts yesterday, got sent down today to make room for Maeda. He got sent down to AA.
2 outs. Daniel Descalso at the plate. You know, it's a smart move. It's using the rules to your advantage. So they weren't short of bullpen arm during that period of time. Dodgers have had to mix and match all year. Rockies have had their share of injuries. The Dodgers have had almost an unprecedented amount of players on the disabled list. This ball's bounced to second. He's got it. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Maeda. So we go to the 3rd, no score. Sports is brought to you by Subaru. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Rockies home for more than a week as they begin this homestand with the Dodgers. We go to the third inning. John Gray's looked good. He'll have the top of the order once again. Chase Utley, Howie Kendrick, Corey Seager.
The first time through tonight for John, gave up a couple hits, 5 and 9 first pitch strikes, 37 pitches. Have the 1 walk to Corey Seager, but 4 strikeouts. 2 on curveballs, 1 on a fastball, and 1 on a slider.
Outside ball 1 on Utley. We were talking about the injuries for the Dodgers. They've had 27 players on the disabled list this year, which ties the 2012 Red Sox for the most by any team in the past 30 years. That's a strike. One of the interesting things, Huey, is that the biggest guy they've missed is the best pitcher in the game, Clayton Kershaw. They were 2 games over 500 when Kershaw went down with the back issues. They've played much better without Kershaw. It makes no sense at all. And they may be getting him back pretty soon. He's going to throw a simulated game tomorrow in Southern California.
Yeah, they're bringing a bunch of kids over from Rancho Cucamonga, their A-ball club in the Cal League, to face Kershaw over at Dodger Stadium. How cool would that be if you're one of those kids? But depending on how it goes, he might just come right back into the rotation.
He was in Denver today throwing on flat ground. So did Scott Kazmir. Did Brandon McCarthy. Those guys all then jumped on a plane and went back to Southern California. This is hit to DJ. He's retired. And you say, well, why, if they were going to be throwing their sim games in Southern California, why would they come here for flat ground work? There was a very important reason. Their fantasy draft, which every major league team has, the fantasy football draft, was held last night. So they flew in for that, did flat ground work, flew back late this afternoon, and they will throw sim games tomorrow at Dodger Stadium, as Huey said, against a bunch of rookies that'll come over from their A-ball team in the Cal League in Rancho Cucamonga.
The things you can do when you're a millionaire.
Many times over. And none of those 3 guys are hurting.
No.
Here's the 1-0. And Kendrick lost this down the right field line. He's going to drift out of play. So you just saw Dave Roberts was asked about his fantasy football team. He said, he goes, I'm a silent partner in a team. He said the majority owner is JT. He was referring to Justin Turner. And he said, we're like the Dodgers. We have a lot of depth. Up and in. 2-1.
You think about the injury to Clayton Kershaw, because I think everybody at that time said, oh, there goes the Dodgers. Dodger season is over with. But as you said, they were 7 games back of the Giants when this all went down. Now they're 2 games up of the Giants.
Who would have thought? Good pitch. 2-2. And of course the Giants have their issues. Good bite on the slider. 3-2. That 2 is going to go out of play down the right field line. So the Dodgers are leading the division through 130 games. You go back since 1998 when the Dodgers were in first place through 130 games. They, generally speaking, are throwing champagne around at the end of the season.
4 straight years now. First place through 130 games.
Pulled the fastball off the plate, a 1-out walk to Kendrick. Second walk allowed by Gray, and that'll bring up Seager, who walked in the first inning.
Bring your group to Coors Field and receive discounted pricing, scoreboard recognition, and other great benefits. Call today for more information and get your group on. Winds change directions, now blowing from left to right field. Left field to right field.
And it's raining pretty good again. Seager's hitting .338 against right-handed pitching. He's hit 17 of his last 19, a .440 average. Billy, you holding up out there?
Oh, it's raining. I'm hanging out with the field crew down in the Rockies dugout, and I'm looking up at the rain, and it is coming.
It's really coming right now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said, I can't be out here with my hair the way it is because this thing's covered, man. It's covered by insurance. Yeah.
It's fouled off. Ask Corey Bossard how long he's going to go with that beard, by the way. You around?
No.
No. Are you going to trim
Corey,
that beard?
I couldn't see in the dark. Thought I saw Corey down there. That's not Corey.
No.
But he's got a good beard.
Great beard. He's going to keep it for a long time.
Tell Johnny we said hello. He's on your left.
Yeah, Johnny right there.
Johnny's right here.
Here's the 0-1 curveball, and you know what? Now you start seeing that.
I
That
was
to me
worried
looked
about
like he had no grip on the curveball.
that it slipped out of his hand. That's the concern you have. That's the first one with the baseball. The second one is, how is the landing area? So he's already throwing the ball out because he wants a dry baseball.
Tom Hallion behind home plate is the crew chief. You know he's going to have a conversation at the end of this half inning if he gets to that. Mark Razum, the head groundskeeper. That's a strike. Tom Hallion's been around a long time, 23 years of Major League umpire. 11 times Tom's worked in the postseason. Twice he's worked an all-star game.
Does anybody have a better spin move on their strike three call than Tom Hallion?
There's no better. You don't want to get, you do not want a backwards K against Tom Hallion. The whole neighborhood hears. Outside. Tom's also umpired, not necessarily behind the plate, but he has worked 7 no-hitters in his umpiring career. They get the best seat in the house.
Yeah, the no-hitters are a perfect game.
Oh man, I had the perfect game. We always talk about, you know, you play no-hitters. Talk about guys being nervous, players, but how about the home plate umpire in a perfect game?
Well, all you do have to do is ask Jim Joyce that call at first base.
Yeah.
I mean, how that was so hard on Jim, and Jim's one of the best umpires going, but he made the wrong call. That was before replay. It was cost Galarraga a perfect game.
Mondo Galarraga was going to, and it's a shame it was right before replay. And I think it was one of those calls that precipitated the league going to replay. He handled a tough situation as well as you could.
Kendrick was leaning. He's going to take off and go on this pitch. Boy, is it coming down now. First base, Howie Kendrick up. Got to get back. Footing looked okay there because he was able to scramble back.
He's going now, and it's pulled foul. I haven't seen Tom, watching him carefully, I haven't seen him look around, like look up in the sky, which a lot of times you'll see the crew chief do that, trying to assess for himself. But you're wondering, you know, if after the Seager at bat, if he pulls everybody off the field.
Mark Razum, yeah, he's right in front of Spilly down there in the Rockies dugout on the phone, trying to get some more updated information.
Is it me, or the last 2 years, Has it rained more?
Just at this time of night. Usually it was earlier, between 2 and 4, 2 and 5 in the afternoon. You could expect it.
Runner going, swung on a miss, throw to second, should get it with a good throw, and it kind of cut away from Descalso, and he whipped the tag too early.
I think it was a cut going down to second base, but still he didn't get over there and catch it. He was thinking about applying the tag. We saw this in Milwaukee, in Washington too, with a pickoff attempt. So you get the strikeout on a changeup on the Subaru Supermo.
He had him dead to rights.
Yeah, he did. But watch right at the end, it almost hits the umpire. But Daniel tried to catch this too soon and apply the tag. You let it go down. No, I'd kind of have to wait and see. But they gave it to Nick Hundley. Well, to me, if that goes off a guy's glove, it doesn't hit the ground.
It's airborne. He's got.
Yeah,
I think Daniel will say he's got to catch that ball.
I
know you want to apply a tag, but you can't apply a tag without the baseball.
And it goes off his glove without hitting any dirt. Be the 9th stolen base of the season for Howie Kendrick.
0-1, and now 1-1 on Adrian Gonzalez. Gray struck him out his first time on a curveball. 5 strikeouts for John. Thrown 58 pitches. And this is hitting a strange area. You got to hustle if you're Nolan, and he'll get there in time with Adrian Gonzalez, not the fastest Dodger, so no harm done. And it's the middle of the 3rd in a scoreless game. This week's CenturyLink high-speed challenge poll question. Once again, who was the last Rockies pitcher to hit a triple before Chris Russin did it earlier in the month? Was it Roger Bailey, Pedro Estacio, or Aaron Cook? And the answer, according to you guys, was Aaron Cook, 70%. You did your homework. It was Aaron Cook back in 05. Only been 10 triples by Rockies pitchers, which actually, you know what, that's a lot.
That is. I saw Roger Bailey at the ballpark today. Probably trying to sway those votes.
Battery got lost on the way to a golf course. Just such an easy.
That was set up on the tee for you. Wow.
In Major League Baseball this year, there have been 7 triples hit by pitchers. John Gray does not have one. 0-2 on John. All right, here's a prediction. John Gray will hit a home run between now and the end of the 2017 season, but not in this at bat.
No, but I think you're right. A double in his last start in Milwaukee.
One out, and that'll bring up Charlie Blackmon, who has hit 11 home runs in the month of August. We're talking about guys pursuing franchise records. Charlie is one off of the all-time franchise record for home runs in the month of August. Curveball, strike one. So Charlie needs one to tie Dante Bichette and Andres Galarraga for most home runs in August. Nolan needs one to tie Big Cat with 33 RBIs in August, and DJ needs to keep producing hits as he did earlier in the ball game. 29 points shy of Helton's great August of 2000.
It's 477 for the whole month. I mean, guys would clamor for that just for a week, maybe 10 days.
The 477 is that's what Todd hit that month, which is one of the all-time great Augusts in history.
Yeah, DJ's 447 in the month.
I think like Rogers Hornsby's on the list, and guys like that. 1 and 2 on Blackmon. You don't want to let Maeda
Settle
get
in.
one of those grooves like he has done in the past against the Rockies. He's now retired 6 in a row.
The first time through the order, the batting average against Maeda is 174. Second time 205, but then it jumps up to 345 the third time through the order.
Yeah, but with this Dodger pen, they can handle it once you start getting late in the ball game.
A lot of these guys for the Dodgers it's really the 5 and fly type.
Old Rogers hit 509 in August of 1924. It's a hot August, though, and I mean that certainly helped him out.
Did you go back to the Farmer's Almanac to get that?
I just recollect.
But those, he had flannel uniforms on them. So
when you first, because I remember in college, the first undergarments we got were wool.
Yeah, we didn't have any of the real nice stuff that wicked the sweat away from your body. Your t-shirt or the wool.
3 and 2.
The long sleeves.
Wool.
Or a nice heavy cotton t-shirt.
Oh gosh, everything's dry fit. Charlie's had a big August, batting average wise also. He's hitting 365 to go with those 11 home runs. 3-2, and that'll help the average. Rip to right center field. Can Charlie turn this into a double? He's going to try. Throw by Peterson, not going to get him. 1-out double for Chuck Nasty.
28 double this season for Charlie. He knew it out of the gate. He knew it out of the box that he was going to be able to get to second base. How far Jock Peterson had to go. And when Jock reaches for this ball, you'll see him slightly stumble. So it takes him a minute to gather himself to make the throw into second base. You also have the wet grass of the outfield. So Charlie's thinking that. And then the slide, with it being wet on the base, will slide over the top, so grab it. Make sure you don't let go of it.
And now here's LeMahieu. DJ a sharp single to left in the first inning. The only other hit for the Rockies. What did you say off the top yesterday? Charlie and DJ were 0 for 8, right?
No, DJ and Daniel Murphy. They were 0 for 8.
Yeah,
right. Charlie was 1 for 5 yesterday.
fair ball. Maeda.
I don't understand though why Charlie didn't go to third base.
I was just going to ask you that. Charlie went back to the bat.
Yeah, he should be standing at third base right now. With the swing, you know it's already hit the dirt.
You're running immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just a bad read. He's got to be at third base. When that ball's going down the first base line, that'll be up to Cargo to drive him in.
Cargo walked on a 3-2 pitch his first time. You know, when managers talk about having protection for a hitter, this is a classic example of that. Maeda looks, he sees Carlos Gonzalez at the plate, first base open, and then he glances a little further to his left and he sees Nolan Arenado. He says, you know what? I can't just put him on.
I know. Remember all those years that Jeff Kent hit in front of Barry Bonds, and he'd always say, no, they're not, you know, they got to worry about me, not the guy. But no, he got a lot of pitches because of where he was in the lineup. It was more of his ego getting in the way. When you look in that on-deck circle, you got somebody to drive in 2 or 3 runs. They're going to pitch to you. You got the right-hander on the hill, the left-hander at the plate. But you're right, you got Nolan, who's tied for first with home runs at 35, first in RBIs with 111.
It's the old pick your poison. Cargo with a 1-1 count. 2-1 at Coors Field against the Dodgers. Cargo has a strong competitive dislike for him. He's hit .379 with 16 jacks, and in those 49 games he's driven in 46, a .734 slugging percentage. Two outs, Blackmon at second. And this is looped to shallow left, and in foul ground the catch is made by Segedin. That'll end the inning. Blackmon left at second. We go to the 4th. No score.
The greatest of all time, Vince Scully. And the Dodgers on Friday, with their team photo, they honored Vince Scully by taking a team photo with over 100 Vince Scully team cutouts. Of course, the tweet says Vince. And I think about Vince Scully all the time. He was the voice in my head. He was the voice through my childhood that kind of carried my dreams. And it's been awesome to watch him go. And obviously, there's only 13 games left for Vin Scully to call at home. He will end his career calling a game against the Giants. And it has been truly a pleasure watching him, listening to him. I know a lot of players have paid homage to him. Celebrities have gone in, Jamie Foxx recently. It will be special. He will be missed.
Well, did you see the other day that Joe Madden and David Ross went up to the booth with some gifts for Vin?
Would he bring him?
I have no idea. I mean, a guy that has done everything, I think just being able to go up and see him in the booth is one of the highlights of what we get to do, for sure.
Well, isn't it appropriate that Vin's career in the regular season will end against the Dodgers, and it's going to be 80 years to the day that he became a Giant fan as an 8-year-old kid. He told us this story earlier this year because the Giants were getting blown out in the World Series, and as a little boy he felt bad for them. And he said, I'm a Giant. He grew up in the New York area. He said, I'm going to be a Giant fan. And he was a Giant fan until, of course, becoming employed as a young man by the Dodgers. One of the great rivalries in all of sports. And 80 years to the day, that Sunday in San Francisco, that'll be the final regular season game that Vin Scully calls.
Well, and the last home game is when the Rockies are there on September 25th, the Sunday. Rockies are in there for a 4-game set. Close out the home series or the home schedule for LA.
Yasmani Grandal goes down. 6 strikeouts for Gray.
The second one on a fastball tonight, down and in on the Subaru Supermo. And John just beats Yasmani to the spot.
So up steps Josh Reddick. And Josh pulls it foul.
Josh Reddick has not been kind to Josh Reddick.
No, he was picked up on August 1st, right before the trade deadline, from Oakland. He made his first appearance in a Dodger uniform against the Rockies right here at Coors Field on August 2nd. He hit the ball hard in all 4 at bats, had nothing to show for it. Well, fast forward 79 at bats now in a Dodger uniform. He does not have an RBI. Think about that. He has played basically a month of baseball for the Dodgers. He has not driven in a run. He's hit below 140 in a Dodger uniform. He's behind 0-2.
If you go back to his last game with Oakland, didn't have an RBI in that game. So his last 24 ball games, he has not driven in a run.
He's a really good player. It's hard to do.
His previous longest stretch was 14 games. But that was over 2 seasons.
That's where you start to prefer to be on the road. Get worn out by the home crowd.
I'll have to look up at that scoreboard and have booyah.
Line drive toward the gap. It'll be cut off by Dahl, and it'll hold Reddick to a single. Well, Spilly was talking about Vin, and like everybody else, spent a great deal of time talking about Vin through the years, but especially this year in his final season. And I asked Jaime Jarrín if his very close friend Vin Scully was starting to get sentimental, and he said, yeah, absolutely. And then Jaime said he's going to really miss him, and he misses him out on the road. Jaime, folks, is in his 58th year on the Spanish, being the Spanish radio voice of the Dodgers. 58 years. He is a Hall of Fame broadcaster. He is exactly like Vin in this regard. Fabulous broadcaster and an even better human being. And Jaime and Vin are very close, and he said, Vin, it's funny because we bowed to Jaime Areen and Vin Scully, and Jaime said, yeah, Vin helped break him into the business. He's been there 58 years. Said he was instrumental in his broadcasting career. He said he took me under his wing, and then would always take him out to dinner, and they became, great friends. And they're two of the legendary broadcasters in the history of baseball.
And every time we see Jaime, it's, hey, how are you? How you doing? It's very gracious, very humbling experience, just like it is with Vin.
Drew, has Vin ever given you advice? Has he ever given you any stories for you to work on?
This is popped up. Easy play for Blackman. Vin would never, I think, unsolicited dispense advice. Now, he has shared, and on a regular basis, and you know this, Billy, from being in the booth, we all get together and we'll, tell some stories about what players are doing for the Rockies, and Vin will, share with us some of the things going on with the Dodgers and get us up to speed. And he is always, very forthcoming with information, and as is Jaime. Two outs. Here's Seguin, Rob Seguin, a base hit to left his first time.
He was just named today to the All-PCL team. He had 319, 21 home runs, 69 RBIs, slugged .598.
They won their division, Oklahoma City, in the PCL. Just clinched by beating Colorado Springs yesterday. Job by Nick. Boy, if you're John, you really want to get Seguin in. Next inning, you could start out with Maeda. John Gray's been good. Ken Maeda's been good once again against the Rockies.
That's why we led off with them today in our open about the two rookie pitchers. Maeda with the 13 wins, but both guys came into the game with 142 strikeouts.
Two and one.
John Gray with his 8 wins. He's fourth among National League rookies.
See if John goes to that slider.
Strikeouts on every one of his 4 pitches tonight. 2 fastballs, 1 on a slider, 2 on a curveball, and 1 on a changeup.
And a ground ball underneath the glove of Nolan. And going first to third, Reddick, because he was in motion. We don't see that much. Glove get a little behind his eyes.
Just a must have. I mean, we're so accustomed every night to watching Nolan. There's some spin on that, but that's a short hop. It's an easy pick for an infielder. Yeah, just his glove was more behind where his eyes are, so it needed to be out just about 2 inches in front of him more.
So Maeda first and third, they're going to give him a hit.
Ranks among National League rookies. Starts are right there, 1 and 2. We've already talked about the win, the strikeouts, the quality starts. 12 for Maeda, 14 for John Gray. The Rockies rookie record, most quality starts, is by John Thompson. He had 15 in 1997.
Swinging bunt. Nice job by Nick. That ball hits the ground again. Maeda was busted, and who knows? Great job by Nick getting out of the chute. No score, middle of fourth. David Dahl, Gerardo Parra against Kenta Maeda. Fans, when the Rockies score 7 runs or more in any game, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the following day. Make sure you do it between 4 and 6 to get your Rockies taco special. Liv Moss at Taco Bell. Well, Nolan is hitting .291. Last year he hit 42, drove in 130. The 42 home runs tied for the league lead with Bryce Harper. The 130 led all of baseball. And he conceivably could eclipse both of those numbers this year. 32 games left. Oh, and 1. Nolan struck out with runners at first and second in the first inning.
111 RBIs on the season. That's 5 more than Edwin Encarnacion with Toronto, who had 106 coming into tonight's game.
Rockies are a good fastball hitting team. I think Maeda gives them fits.
Because the fastball sets up everything else. He pitches backwards. When you think it's a fastball count, it'll give you something off speed, start you off first pitch, 1-1, he'll throw a slider.
He doesn't give in. He never used this term, so it's reserved for left-handers exclusively, but he's a crafty right-hander.
Because he's throwing below major league average as far as fastball velocity. He averages 90 miles an hour. Fastball is about 92.3 now in the major leagues.
2-2 on Nolan. Rockies have had 3 base runners. LeMahieu single in the first, Cargo walk in the first, and a double with 1 out last frame by Blackman. Dodgers have 4 hits. Bat from Nolan.
Just walks through that swing every time when he's pitches away from him.
Saved some of his best moments for the National League West. Since the start of last year, he's played 123 games against the West, 41 home runs, 118 driven in. That's ridiculous. Another 2-2. And Nolan, a strikeout victim again. 5 strikeouts for Maeda.
And the first 10,000 fans through the gates tomorrow will receive a 2016 Colorado Rockies team poster. There you go. Hold on to this, Drew. Otherwise, it's going to roll up. There you go. Right here. This is what you're getting. You come in, first 10,000 of you through the gates tomorrow. All right.
That's a neat little poster.
It is.
Save one every year.
I do too. So there you go. That's what you get tomorrow. So we're going to have to figure out, we're going to have to get another one because I've already put dibs on this one.
You got it.
Okay.
I put a mustache on a couple of guys that you're unaware of. David Dahl fouls that pitch off. It's 1-1. David Dahl with 2 outs and 2 on in the first inning put a charge in a 3-1 delivery to deep left center field. Howie Kendrick made a great running catch, and then you noted that at that point in time the wind was really blowing in.
I thought it was going to be
a different time of night, different circumstance. He may have hit that one out.
Or if it's not 59 degrees like it is right now, it's about 62, 63 when he hit this ball. And Howie Kendrick made a nice running over the shoulder catch for a guy that's been a second baseman primarily in his career, transitioning more to left field this year.
1-2. Howie yesterday against the left-hander hit leadoff. We'll see if that plays out for Dave Roberts' club tomorrow with Tyler Anderson on the hill. Rockies are going to see Rich Hill tomorrow. Left-hander acquired from Oakland. Got over the blister issues. Through his first game in a Dodger uniform was outstanding.
It took him a while to get over that blister. Kept getting his start pushed back. Asking for the slider.
And that should drop. It will. So David Dahl with a 1-out single. Another ball game he's got a hit in.
And just make it 30 out of 33 games for David Dahl. There's not a pitch that he can't handle. Some guy can't handle a fastball above 94 miles an hour. He can't handle a curveball. This was a slider that missed location, but he handles that, stays on it, and just throws out another hit. His mechanics are so pure at the plate, the way he strides, the way he keeps his hands back. That ball that he hit that left center field, the one that Howie Kendrick made the catch on, that was a curveball, but he waited back and hit it the opposite way.
I'm excited as Parra steps up to watch these final 32 ball games. This is a rollover ground ball. Utley will get 1.
Did you see how far away from second base that Chase Utley did the backhand flip? I think it's one of the most underrated plays for a second baseman, but I think it's so important. So he catches it right now. Look how far away he is. I mean, he's closer to first base than he is all the way over to second. Look at that. And then he backhands it. The key with the backhand that far is you have to make sure you keep your legs underneath you. Okay, he stays low, and then keep the thumb down and really a stiff wrist as you throw it over to second base.
Running the option, right?
Exactly. You know you're only going to get 1 out, but sometimes when you try to jump throw, you'll get your mechanics out and you work underneath the ball and you end up sailing it. This way it's more of a truer throw.
I know you like for that second baseman to work uphill, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're thinking from ground, so from the knees up to the eyes. So you keep your legs underneath you when you make that throw.
Well, it's certainly quicker, isn't it, than drop step?
Yes. Yeah, quicker. It's an easier feed for the second or the shortstop.
That's probably the max distance you ever want to do it, right?
Sure, and you know it wasn't hit hard, so you're not going to be able to turn 2.
1-2 on Hundley. Nick struck out his first time. It's like all these games the Rockies have faced Maeda, they play out the same way.
Batting average of 179 against Maeda. We're here at Coors Field, 2-0 with a 150, 13 strikeouts, only 1 walk coming in. There's 1 walk tonight.
This ball crushed. Take a good look. You won't see it for long. Home run, Nick Hundley. 2-0 Colorado.
So an even 40 RBIs on the season now for Nick, and he's starting to heat up. He's hit 9 out of his last 11 games. Some power coming, some doubles we've seen the other way, but behind in the count, 1-2. 2 batters in this last 3. Maeda's missed his spot, and they've made him pay. David Dahl first, and now Nick with the bigger one with the home run to left field. That's his 3rd home run in his last 6 games.
Boy, was that large. Breaks up a scoreless game here in the bottom of the 4th.
I talked to Nick Hundley before today's game, and he was mentioning about how he felt like he was getting his A swing off pretty much every at bat, and that was something that he didn't have for the majority of the season. And Huey, you can talk about how important it is where you feel like every single at bat you have that A swing, that good swing where you put your swing on it, you're going to square it up.
It's so much fun. You have so much confidence when you're going to the plate. People will say to me, well, why can't you have that all the time? That's what baseball players strive for. They try to get that in. For whatever reason, sometimes you'll go a month, 6 weeks, and you're still searching for it. I think that's what happened with Nick. He missed some time earlier this year with the concussion, missed some playing time. It never really got into that rhythm, but the second half of the season's been a totally different story. It's good to see from Nick. What a great guy.
A tremendous guy, tremendous leader also. Really cleared his hips, threw that ball in the stands. That ball was hit. That had to cut through some wind also.
Yeah, the wind's blowing in now more from left field, maybe slightly across to right field.
Roller Adrian Gonzalez to Maeda, and that'll end the inning. But the Rockies get a 2-run blast from catcher Nick Hundley, and they have a 2-0 lead on Los Angeles. Off to the 5th.
Rockies Baseball on Root Sport is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Good view of the Capitol tonight. The rain has stopped here in lower downtown, top of the 5th inning, and that scoreboard looks really nice tonight too. 2-0 Rockies after the 397-foot home run is what they measured it by Nick Hundley last inning. But the Rockies had 2-0.
Yep, third time through the lineup now for John Gray. In the 5th inning, he'll face Utley, Kendrick, and Seager. All three of those guys have reached once tonight. Utley a base hit leading off the ball game. Sharp single to right. Chase takes a strike. That was the 600th career hit for Nick.
Get that baseball back. Put it up on the mantle.
Did you save hits like that? 100, 200? I mean, do you have them or no?
No, I had my first home run, my first major league hit, my first professional hit, all those.
Okay.
And I saved the other ones. I don't know why.
You know, I know you have the jerseys. This is easy play. It's short for Daniel. I know you have all the jerseys from the number of teams that you played for in the big leagues, Montreal, Texas, and Baltimore, and on and on and on. But is there a negotiation going on for the baseball?
Process.
Yeah. Okay. What do you want? Do you have? Were you allowed to keep minor league jerseys?
No. No. Couldn't keep those, and that's just wasn't allowed, or you really didn't think about it.
Howie Kendrick go for one and a walk.
I'm gonna keep all the hats from the teams you played for in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I'm still somewhere.
I still have all those.
Because if you short one, Donaldson has a hat for you.
Go ask for Josh for the one of those hats back that were thrown on the field yesterday.
Guy LaFleur would say, man, that's a lot of hats. Howie Kendrick go for 7 against John Gray.
I think Guy LaFleur, didn't he play for Montreal? Yeah, he didn't play for Toronto, so we'd have to get somebody.
Well, it's north of the border, and it's in the east.
I'm just having fun with you.
Mr. Hockey, Jeff Hughes. That's a strike, 3-2.
Just outside the Subaru strike zone. Tom Hyen giving him the extra 2 or 3 inches.
Didn't give him
that
that pitch.
One. So that one was closer than the last one in the Subaru strike zone.
3 walks. And again, Seager will come up with the man on. It has been an unbelievable rookie year for Corey Seager. His 23 home runs is the most ever by a shortstop for the Dodgers, period, rookie or otherwise. Glenn Wright in 1930 hit 22. Pee Wee Reese hit 20 in 1949.
Corey does have 1 home run this year against John. It's 5 for 9. There's some talk about Seager not only the rookie of the year, but maybe in the MVP discussion. There's some other guys with
unless
bigger.
something changes dramatically in the next month, and it could. I mean, there's still a lot of baseball left. I think he's going to garner a lot of votes. I don't think there'll be a lot of first place votes or second place votes. I think, you know, the two Cubs are going to split a lot of votes. Bryant, Rizzo, if everything stays status quo. I think Nolan will get votes, and he ought to.
Daniel Murphy will get some.
Daniel Murphy will get a lot of votes. Seager gets hit. And now you have 2 on for Adrian Gonzalez. Come back to that walk, man.
Yeah.
Kendrick. This is a slider.
Slider that he just yanks. Just pulls and hits the right calf on the Subaru Supermo of Corey Seager. But the walk twice tonight to Howie Kendrick. Now the hit by pitch, and you come to a guy in Adrian Gonzalez that's just been an RBI machine his whole career. In his last 21 games, he's picked it up. Is it 373? Scored 17 runs, hit 7 home runs, and 24 RBIs.
325 career average with runners in scoring position. That's why he's driven in so many. And this ball in the air to shallow center. Sliding catch is made by Blackmon. Initially, he thought, as we did, well, I don't want to speak for you as I did, that ball was hit better than it was.
And it's okay, because I thought the same thing. Go back to Washington when he made the same type of catch out there, where he just picks it up off the grass and slides and makes the catch. Just focus on the eyes on the Subaru Supermo, and then once he hits, the tough thing when the ground's really wet as an outfielder is trying to stop your momentum and get back up, because you know you got runners on base. You got to get the baseball back in.
Now Grandal at the plate, 2 strikeouts. Chris Russin is up. This is an elevated pitch count for Gray. 93.
Also due up first next inning. I think Nick helped out with this play, calling timeout. Howie Kendrick had bolted off second base. John didn't see him, but Nick called timeout for Tom Hallion, the home plate umpire, so he couldn't try to take off.
One ball, 1 strike. Just 171 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. But again, a guy that has tremendous power.
You make a mistake, he can hit it to Fort Collins.
Grandal, again, leading the big leagues among catchers with the 21-round trippers. Just the 5th Dodger catcher in the Los Angeles era to hit 20 or more in a season. Piazza obviously did it regularly. Joe Ferguson did it a couple times. Todd Hundley a couple times. Paul LaDuca once. Pick play, and getting a hand back in was Kendrick.
Now, if this throw is on the shortstop side of second base, it's not even a question. The timing was impeccable, but the throw just enough on the second base side.
Did he block the bag?
That's a closer look on the Subaru Supermo. Hard to see from that angle. Daniel couldn't. You can see his left foot sliding in the mud by the bag.
No challenge from Walt.
One thing you have to look at too, if you're thinking about a pickoff, is you got to see what the signs are, because if he has a changeup or a slider grip, you can't call up for a pickoff.
In the air to deep right center field. Blackmon will give way to Cargo, who makes the catch. And that will end the threat. Milwaukee hit batter, 2 left on. Rockies leading the Dodgers 2-0 in the 5th.
hitting third this inning. He's already 1 for 2 on the afternoon. And when you look at the numbers for him, he has been incredible. Obviously a great month, but 2-strike approach for him has been unbelievable. So I asked Blake Doyle, what's allowed DJ to be so good with 2 strikes?
What DJ has essentially done is gotten ready to hit sooner. It's a lot less moving parts, and he's on plane early. So with 2 strikes, he's just maybe taking 3 to 5% off as far as effort is concerned to make sure he barrels the ball.
DJ started this season off with the approach trying to be better with 2 strikes, but if you look at the last 9 games, he has a .565 batting average. That's better than Nolan Arenado in the last 7 games. You can't even do that in a 2-0 count. When you look at league average 185, and this guy's doing that, that is some incredible run that DJ's on, and you can understand why he's neck and neck with Daniel Murphy. Guys?
Spilly, I don't think you can do that on a video game, can you?
The best I hit in college was 400. I couldn't hit 565.
With 2 strikes?
Yeah, it's crazy.
On.
It's crazy.
He's been something else. He just keeps getting better and better. 1-1 on John Gray. '75th pitch from Maeda. And this is going to be a tough chance. Just in time. John was running hard. Seguin gets it to Gonzalez.
Nice hustle down the line from John. Charlie will now play the slow walk, adjust the batting glove, step in, take a couple practice swings, step back out. Allow John to sit down, get a cup of water, and relax before he heads back out.
Blackman a double his last time up, takes a strike. The guy with a higher OPS in the month of August than Charlie Blackman's 1,200 is Chris Bryant at 1,209. DJ's 3rd in the league in OPS in August.
Well, the Rockies as a team had hit 291 in the month of August.
Dodgers really turned it up offensively in the second half. They were not good in the first half. That's why they've won games without Clayton Kershaw.
Talking with some of the people with the Dodgers today, I said, you know, why is that? Why have you guys done what you've done in the second? They said, we pretty much just played team baseball. And it seems like every night it's just somebody else. They win the 1-run games too. Those low scoring affairs, they're used to playing in those games.
Oh, he's going to need a new weapon. Major League Baseball did a great job several years ago cleaning up those maple bats.
Yeah, making sure that they didn't just disintegrate.
Detonate.
Yeah, where pieces were flying everywhere on the baseball field. And they had to be certified. They had to have a certain density. A lot of different things went into that, and I like those type of regulations and rules.
They'll have to have that ink mark on the bat. It says it was properly stored, dried. That mark is down near the handle. see right there.
Yeah, that yellow or gold mark on the handle. That's what Drew is talking about.
And a soft liner to second. 2 outs. 2 outs for LeMahieu. Daniel Murphy finished the game 2 for 4 tonight. So he's hitting .3447, and DJ's hitting .344 after being 1 for 2. A few days ago they had the same number of at-bats, but then DJ had to sit out 3 ball games
Same
with the
number
wrist.
of hits too. I mean, everything was
identical.
It's kind of like what's happened in the last 25 games here at Coors Field with the Dodgers. Everything identical. They both scored 146 runs. Both teams had 257 hits.
How about that? 2-0.
Dodgers had won 1 more game, 13-12.
How about this?
In those 25 games here.
The Rockies this year played 12 games against the Cubs, best team in baseball, the Nationals, currently the 2nd best team in baseball. They went 8-4. 8-4 against the teams with the 2 best marks in baseball. You throw in the Dodgers, they're 5-7 against the Dodgers. So against the 3 division leaders in the National League, the Rockies are 13-11.
Just have to go back to Milwaukee and Philadelphia. We were swept in both of those cities.
Two and 2 on LeMahieu. Here's the Rockies this month by series. So they started out the month at home by taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, a team with a .562 winning percentage. They lost the series to Miami and lost the series against Texas. Texas has the best record in the American League. Then the Philadelphia series Huey mentioned. And then Washington, Cubs, no problem. At Milwaukee, big problem. At Washington, take 2 out of 3.
No problem at Washington.
And Maeda with his 6th strikeout, a 1-2-3 5th inning. Nick Huntley's 2-run home run standing up right now because John Gray has put up a bunch of zeros. Well, the recap is Maeda's been good. John Gray's been a little bit better. Maeda gave up a 2-run home run to Nick Hundley. That came in the 4th inning with 2 outs, and that's all the scoring. Rockies leading 2-0 in the first of 3 ball games against the Dodgers. And John Gray will start the 6th inning with 95 pitches, and he'll face Reddick, Peterson, and Seguin.
Had 105 pitches in his last start at Milwaukee. His season high is 115. It was a game against the Atlanta Braves on July 17th. Cool evening. I like this. Send the big guy out there. Let him eat up another inning. Maybe an inning plus.
Reddick lined a base hit to left. His second time up. Hard ground out his first time up. 1 for 2. Reddick, Savannah, Georgia. Still lives there in the offseason. Hard ground ball to DJ. Slides his feet a little bit to his right. 1 out. That'll bring up Jock Peterson. Peterson a strikeout and a fly ball to center. I like this by Wall, even though rookie pitcher, he's at 95 pitches. Walt's like, you're my guy.
Sure.
You're gonna at least get us through the 6th inning, barring the unforeseen. Pulled foul.
Well, why not? These are the times when a manager's got to give his player, and he's had John long enough now, from last year to this year, to know what he has, talking to him, observing him in the dugout, how he reacts. 6 strikeouts tonight. He'd come in 7th in the National League with averaging 9.63 strikeouts per 9 innings.
Well, that's what front of the rotation guys do. They miss bats. And he's now ahead of Peterson 1 and 2, who's not unfamiliar with the strikeout. (103 strikeouts and 336 at bats. Just shy of a third of the time. Peterson probably won't be in there tomorrow against the lefty. He has not hit lefties at all.
Tyler Anderson starting tomorrow against another left-hander in Rich Hill for the Dodgers.
Slider misses. 2 and 2. Peterson is hitting .087 against lefties. That'll get you a comfy seat next to your manager.
That's right. Probably see Hernandez in there. You'll see Justin Turner back in the lineup tomorrow.
Swung on and missed. Another strikeout for John Gray.
Yes.
That is number 7.
And the second one tonight on a slider. See the red dot on the Subaru Supermo.
He missed that by 8 inches.
At least 8 inches. Bit of everything tonight for John Gray. Fastball, breaking pitch. That includes the curveball and slider at 34%. And the changeup, 12%. Has 1 strikeout tonight on the changeup.
Rob Seguin with a foul ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. And from Richmond, Virginia, we have the line on Tyler Chadwood tonight. He's throwing a rehab ball game starting for Hartford. He went 4 1/3. by pitch.
Maybe the only, real quick, Drew, maybe the only positive thing by that hit by pitch is they're going to go to their bench and pitch it Hernandez and get Maeda out of the game. Might be the only thing instead of having the pitcher spot come up next inning. Finish the line on,
yeah, Kike Hernandez, and that is a good thing. Maeda is out of there. So Chatwood's line 4 1/3. He gave up 2 runs, no earned runs. 4 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, 73 pitches. That's what they wanted him to throw, in the neighborhood of 75. So a very successful outing, it sounds like, for Tyler Chatwood. You assume the bat comes out of that okay?
I talked to him yesterday in the dugout before he left to go on this rehab. He was real encouraged. He said it. The sides he's been able to throw, it's the first time in a while the back hasn't hurt.
That's a foul ball into the seats. But there's the official game photo of Tyler Chatwood in his Hartford Yard Goats uni.
Hartford didn't even have to worry about getting white uniforms. Everything was the gray roads.
John with a 1-2 count on the pinch hitter Kike Hernandez. 2-0 Colorado. Lou Goodman, Jeff Houston, Ryan Spilborghs. Two and two.
John just reached back for more on that one, overthrew that last pitch. You can smell the finish line.
Yeah, he knows this is it. It's pitch number 111. Got him. Beautiful slider. Brought it up just enough to induce a swing. Hernandez, the pinch hitter, got 8 strikeouts. John Gray, 6 shutout innings. Rockies 2 and the Dodgers 0.
John Gray, what a performance. 6 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, and the big number is 0. 0 runs for the Dodgers. You elected to celebrate Carlos Gonzalez during the next player-elect game, and that's tomorrow. Now buy the ticket package online and get an exclusive Cargo t-shirt, the one that's pictured there on your television screen right now. But you got to buy the special ticket package to get it. Now pitching for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Grant Dayton, 11 ball games this year, 14 in the third. He's only given up 7 hits. How about that? 18 strikeouts, only 4 walks. Guys hitting 137 against Grant.
Lefties are 2 for 17, one of 3 lefties that the Dodgers have in their bullpen right now. Veteran J.P. Howell. They also have Adam Liberatore. Cargo 0 for 1 and a walk. Cargo, Nolan Arenado, David Dahl. Rockies with 4 hits, the Dodgers with 4 hits, but the Rockies have 1 large hit. 2-run home run from Nick Hundley in the 4th. Cargo with a tailing drive to left, and Kendrick's going to get there.
And a couple nice plays tonight. One going to his glove side in the gap, and that one going towards the line.
That'll bring up Nolan. He struck out twice against Maeda. Maeda's final line: 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts. Chad Bettis, John Gray. Boy, Chad was good yesterday. Gave up the home run, solo home run to the first hitter he saw yesterday, Trey Turner, and then a home run in the 7th. Nothing in between. Those 7 innings, just 1 walk. Great outing for Bettis. Had a real good changeup yesterday, Huey, didn't he?
Yeah, and that induced 11 ground ball outs yesterday from Chad. A couple flyouts to 106 or 105 pitches, 69 for strikes. And he just had it work, and he talked after the game that he's really worked on keeping his head more positionally towards the plate, and it worked out.
Nolan's frustrated. Dan Bellino said he went around. It was kind of an awkward body movement.
Trying to get everything out of the way. He's shaking his head no.
And that'll be a base hit. Throw aside half the bat, take it.
He ran halfway down to that 45-foot line and then tossed his bat to the side. And he's still having a conversation at first base with Dan Bellino about that check swing. But everything makes a little bit better when you make contact. Here's the sweet spot way out here. He's looking right at the label.
Still amazing that, I mean, it's like he's hitting off the tee. And guys don't, you say track it to your barrel as David Dahl swings and misses, but that's virtually impossible.
It is. There's that point 2 or 3 feet from where you are that your eyes can't adjust that fast. But he seems to be able to take the head down to the barrel of the bat whenever he goes to swing. Yesterday, walking down the steps from the clubhouse, and you know how the batting cages are right there in Washington, right before you walk out into the dugout, and Nolan was in there hitting off a tee, and everything, he was just peppering that back wall, back part of the cage, and it was so much fun to watch, because that's what you try to do off a tee. You're not trying to pull the ball, you're just trying to stay centered.
Well, he's been centered lately. 16 for his previous 29 coming in, so he's 17 for 32 over the last week. Rockies up 2-0. Here's the 1-2 on Dahl, held up 2-2. David a base hit his last time up, robbed of what would have probably been a 2-run double at least in the first inning. A great running catch by Howie Kendrick. Chris Russin was up earlier. He's up for the Rockies again. With all the issues for the bullpen, trying to get the ball to Adam Ottavino. Chris Russin been asked the last couple of times out, not necessarily to be a long haul guy, but to be a one-inning guy on the plus side.
Right, and you're going to the top of the lineup for the Dodgers. You have Utley, then who hits left-handed, then Kendrick, who hits right, but Seager, Gonzalez, Grandal, the switch hitter. You go back to Reddick and Peterson. So 5 guys in the lineup that hit left-handed.
Boone Logan's been in the last 2 ball games. Two on Dahl. 3-2. Don't think you'll run Nolan here because Dahl does strike out, and Nolan and probably be easy pickings for strike him out, throw him out if he did get a swing and a miss.
It's tough to get a read off the lefty.
Yeah, all of those things considered, he wasn't going, and this is Seager in shallow center field, 2 outs. 2 gone, and Gerardo Parra will come up. Parra's 0 for 2, a strikeout. Reached on a fielder's choice, and then got to jog around the bases on the Nick Hundley home run. Parra just 11 for his last 58, a 190 batting average. Minor leagues this year, Grant Dayton, 91 strikeouts and 52 innings.
That'll get you promoted.
He was with Miami a little more than a year ago. Came in a trade mid-July. A couple minor leaguers swapped.
Dayton spent some time earlier this year down in Tulsa. Tulsa now the AA affiliate of the Dodgers. Moved on to Oklahoma City.
Two and two, no advance. Swung on and missed. Dayton strikes out Parra. And that ends the 6th. We'll go to the 7th. Nolan had a base hit. He's left aboard. Rockies up 2-0. build on what he did in Milwaukee. It was a no decision, but he went 6 innings, struck out 10. Tonight he's on the plus side. 6 innings, no runs, 4 hits. He walked 3, hit 2 batters, struck out 8 more. Another outstanding outing for rookie John Gray.
It's 2 outings in a row for John that he set a Rockies rookie record. The one he did in Milwaukee was with the 142 strikeouts. That beat Chacin, who had 138. But he also ties a club record with his 15th quality start of the season. Now it'll be up to Chris Russin to keep this ball game 2-0. He's got 2 of the first 3 guys that he will face are the lefties. Chase Utley and Corey Seager.
Some of the faltering of the bullpen, an opportunity for Chris Russin. Utley tonight 1 for 3. Base hit back in the first. Ball 1. Chase Utley owns 247 home runs, which of guys that have been primarily second baseman, it's 9th all time. Jeff Kent has the most, 377. Brett Boone would be next up on the list. He's 5 away from that. Boone hit 252 home runs. When you were in Seattle, was Boone up there?
No. Nope. In Seattle was A-Rod, Joey Cora. Boone came after that. Almost worked a quick pitch on Chase Utley because Chase takes a lot of time with the bat. Even before the pitcher starts to get into his motion, he's still wiggling the bat, and Chris sped it up, but sped it up too much and just came within 3 inches of hitting him on the head in the Subaru Supermo.
2-2. Do you know that Utley has got 466 plate appearances without grounding into a double play? And it's going to be 467 because this is probably not going to happen here.
No, it's not like instructional league where you'll put a guy on just to work on some things.
Yeah. 2-2. Got a beautiful pitch. Great location. Onto the slider. Almost an unhittable spot. 1 out.
Back-to-back spots and location. Well, this is a changeup. You see it on the circle changeup. See that many times left on left.
That slider movement.
Yeah, it just kind of started behind or right inside, excuse me, of Chase Utley, and then just moved underneath the bat.
Kendrick has reached twice on walks.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is now available. You can join the millions of subscribers, watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices.
One, 2 on Kendrick. Got him. Russin with a couple of strikeouts.
Has the feel of a changeup tonight. Struck out Chase Utley, and now another circle change to strike out Howie Kendrick. Fastball action on the arm. Take the velocity off, you get the out front swing.
Seager, a walk, a strikeout, and then he was hit by a pitch. Swung on and missed. It's 0-1. Russin out of the University of Kentucky. He got hit again.
This one's going to be more painful than the one that hit him in the calf. It's got him on the wrist. On the left wrist. Turned into it. Oh, those are the scary ones for the hitter, the trainer, the manager. There's nowhere to bail to. You can't get out of the way. You've committed somewhat to your swing, and then it hits that bone. Do all the precautions where they'll squeeze the hand. Just saw the trainer look at Dave Roberts kind of shake his head, saying, well, it depends on how Corey Seager feels if he wants to stay in the game. But keep an eye on this for later on.
I would think the smile is indicative that the pain has subsided somewhat. Well, that keeps the streak alive. The Dodgers, you've had a runner on in every inning.
Second time tonight Corey Seager's been hit by a pitch. Also has a walk.
Now you got to deal with Adrian Gonzalez. He's 0 for 3 tonight, but he's a .325 hitter out on the road this year. Ground ball to Parra. That'll end the inning. Nicely done, Chris Russin. A couple of strikeouts, and he gets Gonzalez. Stretch time at Coors Field. The Rockies shutting out the Dodgers 2-zip. By T-Mobile. Check the scoreboard tonight. Blue Jays got another home run from Josh Donaldson with Nolan Arenado's bat, we think. 5-1. They beat the Orioles at Camden Yards tonight. The Rangers look like they're going to roll again. They're up on the Mariners 6-3. Kansas City up 8-5 on the Yankees. Boy, they scored a lot of runs over the weekend. The Yankees did. In 10, the Mets over the Marlins 2-1, and they're still playing in the 8th inning in Chicago, and the Pirates who have come on. They're up 6-5. Pirates won a bunch of games on the road in a row for Clint Hurdle. Adam Liberatore, 51st appearance. And for the Rockies, Nick Hundley is a star offensively. 2-run home run, his last at bat in the 4th. The only scoring in the game. 5 hits for the Rockies, 4 hits for the Dodgers.
Back in the 4th inning, Nick Hundley breaking this game. A scoreless tie to a 2-0 lead for the Rockies. Back up slider. It's at 397 feet. Yeah. Should be excited at that swing.
1-1. Rockies have Boone Logan up for the 8th inning. Rockies may go with Estevez in the 9th inning. It's a possibility because Adam Ottavino's thrown the last 2 days.
He's thrown an inning or 2 1/3 innings. Inning yesterday, 2 strikeouts. Trying to lock that one down in the 9th. Finally gave up a run after 31 1/3 innings for Adam. There's Carlos.
Fouled off. You know, a year from now, that may not be as big an issue.
No.
But first couple of months back off Tommy John, you're going to err on the side of caution. And Adam's been fantabulous.
And even if Adam were trying to talk his way into it, saying, I feel fine, everything's good, let me go, Skip. You have to sometimes pull the reins back on somebody. I think this is a time where for Walt he's got to do that with Adam.
Nick got fooled, 1 out. I'll bring up Descalso. The day after every Rockies win, get 50% off your online order at Papa John's. Use the promo code ROCKSWIN at papajohns.com. Couple of ground downs this evening for Descalso. Year 2 of a 2-year deal for Descalso. Came from St. Louis. Key member of a number of winning teams for the Cardinals.
There might have been some flashbacks too when Corey Seager was hit to what happened with Daniel during spring training. Very similar hit by pitch. It goes off his wrist. Everything's okay. Misses 2 or 3 days, but then they did some more tests and saw it was broken. But since he's come back,
been very solid with the bat.
Yeah, hasn't missed a beat.
And a base hit to left. So Daniel with 1 out reaches. Steven Cardullo is in the on deck circle and he's being called back, and Ryan Rayburn is going to come out and hit.
For 2 outs and nobody on, Steven would have hit, but with that base hit by Daniel, Walt's going with the veteran and Rayburn. The year is 9 for 38 pinch hitting with the 3 home runs and the 9 RBIs.
So Rayburn against Adam Liberatore. Takes ball one. Two and out. Rockies had a good homestand last time they got to spend a week in Coors Field, 4-2. Trying to get this one off to a good start, leading the Dodgers 2-0 on a Monday night. Rockies home for 9 ball games. Arizona and the Giants to follow.
An off day on Thursday.
Got a pitch up, fouled it off.
It's first career matchup between these two, and Ryan and Adam.
It's the start of the third final homestand. Next homestand in mid-September is just 6 ball games, and then the last homestand is not really a homestand. It's the final 3 games of the year against the Brewers. And that's out of play on the right side.
What will Ryan see from Adam? Adam has a fastball. Averages about 93 with the slider and a changeup. Now they're getting the throw over sign. Go over to first just to check the runner.
Daniel had a conservative lead.
As for the changeup.
That's 3-2 on Rayburn. Blackman on deck. Rockies trying to expand their lead. They're up 2-0. Rayburn's not an extremely big guy, but he generates some bat speed. He gets his legs.
That's the key
in his swing.
The legs have to be involved in a swing. So many times people think, well, you got to have quick wrists and you got to get your hips through there. Yeah, you do, but you have to have a solid base to hit from. Ryan does that. Turns his back foot just a little bit, pointed away, and also the left foot turned in. That's to keep the left hip involved.
That's a ball, and that's a walk, and now the Rockies have 2 on for Blackman. Ready to go at the plate. 1 for 3 and double in the 3rd inning for Charlie.
2 for 5 in previous matchups with Adam.
Charlie had a couple of home runs on the recently completed road trip. Most home runs by any leadoff hitter in the National League. Tied for the most in Major League Baseball, 23, along with Mookie Betts.
Good eye from Charlie. That was a couple baseballs off the Subaru strike zone.
Blackman, a career .330 hitter at Coors Field. Earlier we told you Charlie coming into the ball game was hitting .317 at home, .317 on the road. And a base hit for Blackman. Around third's Descalso. He'll score easily. Rockies have a 3-0 lead as Rayburn goes to third. Charlie Blackman with RBI number 64. That's a big one.
Add that extra run anytime you can. Brought the left-hander Liberatore out to start this inning. But what have the two left-handers done? Descalso with the base hit, he comes around to score, and now Charlie Blackman, another left-hander. It's an almost identical line drive as he had in the third inning, same spot. Jock Peterson gets over quickly to cut it off to keep Rayburn from scoring.
20th RBI in the month of August for Chuck Nasty. LeMahieu's 1 for 3. Singled in the first inning.
That hit off of Adam Pedro Baez, the right-hander, is now up in the Dodger bullpen.
You also have a situation here. Liberatore's keenly aware of it. You can see Charlie take off.
Charlie does so much studying along with EY, first base coach. That you know these guys, they play within your division. You know the moves.
They're looking at and that's why they break tape down. They're looking for the most subtle things, Huey.
It could be just as much as where his foot is, how wide his base is when he's thrown to the plate. And some guys will have a wider base when they want to do a slide step so they can get to home plate quicker. They're going to use a leg kick. It might be even just an inch or two. You notice where that is. That's what you're looking for.
Sometimes the chin will come down a little further when they're coming to the plate.
All those subtleties. Any advantage you can get. I like the lead off of first, too, on the backside of the bag.
2-strike count on LeMahieu.
DJ. Talk about BABIP. That's batting average with balls in play. DJ 383, Jonathan VR 397. Now this does not include any home runs. It's maybe the one downfall of BABIP, but it still is indicative of how well they hit when they put that ball in play. There's the definition.
One out, a run in. 2 hits and a walk this inning. Rayburn is at third base. Blackman is at first. David John LeMahieu at the plate. Dodgers have been a hot club. They've won 6 of 8. Their season best 22 games above 500. 75 and 53 for Dave Roberts, who will garner, with all the injuries, a lot of manager of the year votes, I'm sure.
Gonna be in the top 3 with Joe Madden and maybe what Dusty Baker's done out in Washington. Guys they've had on the DL. Between the two clubs here, they put the most. The Dodgers 27 guys, the Rockies 23 different players on the DL.
I don't know how he got to that, Huey, but he did.
Well, who knows how he got it? Only DJ knows. because where that was up by his neck, inside, and he fouls it off. Foot down.
He hits the ball off his body line more than anybody I've ever seen. Fair?
Very fair. Sees a lot of pitches. Spilly spoke about his average with 2 strikes. You don't hit first or second in any league without being able to hit with 2 strikes. But those numbers are absurd.
See the league average on pitches seen. You see what
and I think
what DJ sees.
Right, but then you couple that with the fact of what Charlie sees right before him. That gives DJ somewhat of an advantage because you've seen a lot of pitches too.
23rd pitch for Liberatore, which is a large number for more of a lefty specialist. Fargo's in the on-deck circle studying away. I would think if it goes beyond Cargo, you won't see Liberatore anymore. You'll see Baez.
But you might knock Liberatore out for tomorrow with 30+ pitches.
2-2.
This is fun to watch.
He's always fun to watch. He's talented, he's gritty, he's determined, and he brings it every night. Change up.
Change up. Reaches. Look at how his body is positioned just to reach that baseball.
This ball's hammered toward right center field, and it's going to kiss off the base of the wall. 1 run is scored, and here comes Blackman to throw to the plate. Safe! 2-run double. DJ LeMahieu, and the Rockies lead it 5-0.
It's almost like DJ was just toying with that, saying, "Okay, you think you got me? I'll foul a couple pitches off, and then I'm not going to have any more of that. You can throw me a pitch, I'm going to hit it into the off gap for a double." This was a cat and mouse game. He fell behind 0-2, fouled some off, took some balls, and finally, on the 8th pitch of that at bat, he hits the ball to right center field with authority. 26th double on the season. Charlie hustling around from first base. 2 more RBIs, 2 hits tonight for DJ.
And Dave Roberts, even though he's got Cargo up there, that's going to be the end of the run, it looks like, for Liberatore. And that's to save him, I would think, for tomorrow. So the Rockies get after Liberatore. 3 runs here in the 7th. They're up 5-zip.
on the strength of that man right there, and DJ LeMahieu with his 26th double. Finally gets a pitch that he can hammer to right center field off the base of the wall. Ryan Rayburn, who had walked earlier, and then Chuck Nasty, who had the base hit to center field to drive in Descalso, barely gets that left foot in before the tag. The reaction by DJ, so much fun. I mean, this guy comes to play with an edge every single night. Plays with a chip on his shoulder in the right way. Yeah, that's my DJ, spinning some more hits out there.
He's something else. So Cargo will face Pedro Baez, the native of the Dominican Republic, Bonnie in the Dominican Republic. Cargo is 2 for 3 in his matchups with Baez, the hard-throwing right-hander. Still just 1 out.
Lefty's hitting just 163 against Baez. 211 are the right-handers.
Inside, ball 1. Cargo walked in the first, fouled out to third in the third, and then hit a line drive to deep left that was tracked down near the line by Howie Kendrick.
Baez, a very deliberate worker.
Cargo leans on one, and it's caught out there by Reddick. Can't hit it any harder than that.
Third baseman, number 28,
Two outs, Arenado at the plate.
Rockies dugout stores are the place for all things Rockies, and the only place you can get the Nolan Arenado Colorado Bobblehead Series.
Nolan had a broken bat single to center in the 6th inning, 1 for 3. Stares at a strike, 0-1. Remember we were talking earlier, Huey, about the Rockies remaining 32 games.
Yes.
They will finish with 3 at home against Milwaukee. And I was thinking, it's been a while since the Rockies finished the season at home. Hold on a sec. This ball, towering drive, deep right center's got a chance off the very top of the wall. LeMahieu will score. Nolan in his second. 6-0 Colorado. 112 RBIs for Nolan Arenado.
Well, you like when you can expand a lead like Colorado has done in this inning. Again, on the Subaru Supermo, Nolan gets a pitch up. It's that about 3/4 of the way up that high fence in right center field. Takes some strength to hit it that far. Like Nolan just hit that one.
And as we know, Nolan doesn't hit a ton of balls in that direction. Here's David Dahl. David's 1 for 3. And that RBI ties Big Cat for most ribbies in the month of August in franchise history, 33. And there's a few more days. Last time I checked in the month of August. Guys who've produced more than 30 in Rockies history. Galarraga 33, Nolan 33, Todd Helton had 32 in 2000. Bichette had 31 in '99. 2011, Cargo had 30. Those are two pretty good players right there.
Two of the young studs in the league.
And will be for a long time. Got the plate's not bad either. One strike on Dahl. Maybe a nice matchup for David.
We always talk about too with the Dodgers how deep their outfielders play. John Peterson at center field. A lot of green grass out there. It's as deep as anybody.
Just can't help but get excited about next year. When you think about a lineup that's going to feature Story and Dahl and Cargo and Nolan, DJ and Blackman.
And I think about the starting pitching. I mean, with John Gray, another year for him. Tyler Chatwood's, it would be another year removed from his Tommy John. Tyler Anderson, who's pitching tomorrow. I mean, so many good things.
Jeff Hoffman.
Jeff Hoffman, right.
Looked the part in his first 2 outings. It's just going to get better. There's Trevor.
Trevor had a little fun today. Couldn't catch the baseball with the thumb still in his, but he was able to throw it. He thought that was exciting, just be able to go out there, be part of the gang again.
3-1 misses, ball 4. Dahl goes down to first, and Parra becomes the 9th man to hit here in the 7th inning. The Rockies have scored 4 times. Six runs, 9 hits for the Rockies, no runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. So we were talking about it felt like a while since the Rockies had finished a season at home. How about 2007?
That was
the
it?
World Series year. They played Arizona the final 3 games of the year. Lost on Friday. Here's a strike. Won Saturday and Sunday. Got help from Milwaukee, and then game 163. We all know what happened there against the Padres. That's the last time the Rockies finished a regular season at home.
Remember last year he finished in San Francisco. 2007.
Basically a decade ago. A 1 on Parra. One and 2.
Well, now it's Jake McGee up in the Rockies bullpen, not Boone Logan. For the Dodgers, J.P. Howell.
This is Luke to center, a base hit. Nolan will score. First to third for Dahl. make it 7-0 Colorado.
And get that baseball. Career hit number 1,000.
That is quite a milestone, Gerardo Parra. And the Rockies have let the Dodgers know. Adrian Gonzalez asked for the baseball, flipped it to Eric Young.
A lot of milestones happening.
Congrats to Gerardo. That's a big number.
That is a huge number. A lot of consistency, longevity. You'll always remember this one. Single to center field, driving in his 33rd run of the season.
Tell you how significant it is as Nick Hundley's up again. The Rockies have hit around here in the 7th, a 5-run 7th. Strike on Nick. In the history of Major League Baseball, there's been fewer than 1,300 players to produce 1,000 hits. Gerardo becomes the 1,294th to be exact.
Saw Ichiro, and that's what makes Ichiro getting his 3,000s here at Coors Field even that much more remarkable. 1,000 hits, and then you take it to 3,000.
Rockies turned what was a tight game into a lopsided game. 2-0 when this inning began.
I like the way they just keep adding on. It's not, oh, we'll settle for 2 or 3. No, let's make it a big crooked number. 5, if not more.
And they've hit the magic number of 7. Everybody gets tacos tomorrow. Don't forget to go to your participating Taco Bell location between 4 and 6 to get your Rockies taco special, La Masa Taco Bell. One and 2 on Hundley. 2-run home run early in the game to give the Rockies the advantage. Came in the 4th inning against Kenta Maeda. Got the only hard hit ball, or one of just a couple, against Maeda tonight for the Rockies.
When Maeda's on the hook for the loss, and his last loss was 6 starts ago, back on July 17th. Since then, he'd been 5-0 with the 3.74 ERA.
And Nick goes down swinging against Baez. 10 come to bat for the Rockies, and 5 score in the 7th inning as the Rockies throw out 5 hits. Everybody involved, and the Rockies now have a 7-0 lead as we go to the 8th. Look back. Nick Hundley, a 2-out, 2-run home run in the bottom of the 4th, and John Gray made that stand up. Ken Maeda was very good, upset with himself. That's all he would give up. John Gray 6 shutout innings, and the Rockies went off in the 7th. And you know that DJ LeMahieu's probably in the middle of things. Charlie Blackmon scoring all the way from first on a 2-run double from LeMahieu. And then Nolan, he would go off up. Really hit it out off the top of the fence. That double drove in a run, and for Nolan, his 112 RBI. 5-run 7th for the Rockies. They now enjoy a touchdown lead on the Dodgers. Drew Goodman along with Ryan Spilborghs and upstairs Jeff Hewson. In the 8th inning, Jake McGee will take over. Yasmani Grandal, Josh Reddick, and Jock Peterson.
48th game for Jake. Picked up the victory on Saturday in that extra inning affair,
which was his first win in a Rockies uniform.
Through an inning, 2 strikeouts, 1 and 3 on the season. Dahl hitting .241 this year, right-handed. 2 home runs, 5 RBIs.
One ball, 1 strike. Two and 1.
That scoreless streak on Saturday had not given up a run. That kind of snapped a mini streak that Jake had going the wrong way, allowing a run in each of his previous 3 appearances.
He's fallen behind 3 and 1. Dodgers began the day 2 games north of the Giants in the West. The Giants are idle today. Nobody's ever lost to Idle.
No, Idle's good.
And a walk.
San Francisco staying at home. They have Arizona starting tomorrow night.
Josh Reddick will come up. Every manager in the NL West woke up with a smile on their face, or at least they went to bed with a smile last night. Everybody in Division won yesterday. You know who's real grumpy right now, Huey? There's a strike. 1-1.
Who's that?
Minnesota fans. They lost 1-0
Oh,
in Cleveland. They've lost 11 in a row.
oh. Has not been a pretty year for Minnesota. 49 and 82.
Double play ball.
There you
There's
go.
one, and Rockies did not turn that over. And I think that's where sometimes the shift makes it difficult to turn double plays, because the shortstop's momentum is not coming through the bag. It's coming from the right side.
Well, and the other thing too is making sure you keep your foot on the bag with the neighborhood play. So you see how Daniel had to wait for it? It used to be you would go get that ball already. Josh Reddick beats it on the Subaru Supermo. But as a shortstop, you would cheat. You would be 6 inches away from the bag, and then your momentum would be going that way. You can make the turn.
Peterson's 0 for 3. Dodgers have had base runners in every inning. They've left 10 on tonight. But they have a bagel up on the scoreboard. 6 terrific innings from Gray. 4 hits, struck out 80, walked 3, hit 2 batters. Chris Russin had a very strong inning. 2 strikeouts. And another chance for 2. There's 1 and there's 2. So McGee, after walking Grandal, gets a couple ground balls. The second one produced 2 outs. Middle of 8, Rockies 7 and the Dodgers nothing. Sports is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo customers get your 2-for-1 club level tickets by visiting wellsfargo.com/Rockies. Saw some swirling clouds tonight. Saw some rain early in the ball game. Then the Rockies rained on the Dodgers in the 7th, producing 5 runs to break this thing open. With Jeff Houston and Ryan Spilborghs, I'm Drew Goodman. In the 8th, the Rockies will have Daniel Descalso up first to face J.P. Howell, the 33-year-old, originally a #1 pick of the Royals.
Also the 3rd left-hander. All 3 left-handers have been used tonight by the Dodgers.
Steven Cardullo's in the on-deck circle, so Steven will get an AB. Pinch hitting for McGee. Descalso had a base hit in that 7th inning and scored a run. He got the rally going with 1 out. Line to hit to left against Liberatore. (2-0) for Descalso. 3-0. How about Nolan now with the 2 hits tonight, Huey?
Yeah.
He's 18 for his last 33. 545 average. His average actually went down. 5 home runs, 14 ribbies. That was a gift strike.
Yes.
It's 3-1.
Very much so a gift. But for Nolan, I think it all started back with his bobblehead. Remember he had his bobblehead day.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Carried it on the road trip.
So what are you calling out for Cargo next Sunday?
Well, I had a couple home runs.
Anything less would be a disappointment.
Right, because it's going to be his bobblehead day.
Matt Carasetti's going to throw the 9th inning. Nice break for Walt, too. You have to stay away from Logan. Glove flip. And Adam Ottavino tonight. This Thursday, that's right, this Thursday, college football returns to Root Sports. Get your first glimpse at the 2016 New Mexico Lobos, vastly improved last year under Bob Davie. They'll host South Dakota. Coverage begins Thursday at 7 p.m. on your home for Mountain West Football Root Sports. The Lobos in a bowl game last year for the first time in a while. Bob's done a great job with that program, Bob Davie. Here's Steven Cardullo looking for his first major league hit. He takes strike one.
How fitting would it be on a night that Gerardo Parra gets his 1,000th, that Steven gets his first?
2 strikes. Let's hope it happens right here. Got a good chance to be in the lineup tomorrow against the lefty Rich Hill. 1-2. Talking to Charlie Culberson, former Rocky, now with the Dodgers, about Cardullo. He faced him in the PCL. He said, man, he's an impressive hitter. 2-2. Players know about guys' backgrounds. I was telling Charlie about his background. He said, yeah, he came from indie ball, didn't he?
You know the struggles that Steven had to go through, and guys know about that. They hear the stories. You know, he earned the respect of his teammates in that extra inning game on Saturday in the 10th inning. Now, didn't get a hit, but it was a lengthy at bat. He kept fouling pitches off.
There are guys who go up to the plate that have an idea, and you can tell right away that they have an idea, they have a game plan, they can adhere to a game plan, and he looks like he is one of those guys. Here's Charlie, who's one of the top guys you'll meet in the game. 2-2, and toward the home base hit, Steven Cardullo. His first major league knock. Atta baby.
How about the dugout, too? This ball comes back in.
They are genuinely excited for him.
They're standing up, cheering for him. Love the crowd's reaction. He's up on the big board here. His first career major league hit. Love that smile. You always have this for the rest of your life. It's a changeup. It's off the end of the bat. Might have broke his back. But he'll have that baseball, tip of the cap. He's got his bat. Happy, happy moment.
That is awesome. Side on Charlie. Blackman a couple of hits tonight in a ribby, single and a double.
I'm smiling all the way up here. I didn't get the hit he did, but I'm happy for him.
You and I both. It is always special, and his journey truly unique. A year ago at this time, you think he was, somebody told him, hey, you're going to be playing Major League Baseball next August. Say, well, I hope so, but right now that doesn't seem that likely.
Just keep fighting, keep dreaming.
2 days shy of his 29th birthday. First major league hits don't often come in your late 20s.
Mark had the nice interview with his parents and his sister. They were talking about how hard he worked.
I hope they're here now. They made it up from Florida naturally to Washington for that series. Not sure if they made it out to Colorado. Either way, you know they're watching.
And congratulations to them too. They've had to sure just keep patting him on the back, saying it's going to come. Keep fighting. Keep doing your thing.
Charlie lofts this to center field. This is going to drop. And Cardullo's going to end up at third. That's the first time we got a chance to watch him run a little bit. And underway.
It was good.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's stolen some bases. Stu Cole puts his arm around him. Charlie's got his third hit of the night.
Remember when Carlos Gonzalez, he hit that ball and kind of twisted and fell at home plate? Watch this with Charlie. So he hits the ball, bloops it into center field. He rolls his ankle just like Cargo. He goes down. Watch the left ankle.
Well, as you know, you unweight for a second, and then you're going to plan on it to run.
Charlie popped up. It's a good sign. Another good sign is you at first and third. You got DJ, who had that double last inning. He has now 12 multi-hit games in his last 22 for a .453 average.
What did we say at the top of the broadcast? We said he's got to throw out 2 or 3 hits, and now they're going to go check on Charlie. Wonder if he said something to EY.
I think they just making sure that he's okay.
He had a toe injury last week.
Says he's okay, but this is scary because it knocked Cargo out for a while. He's still dealing with it. All your weight goes onto that left. See how it just really buckled.
Yeah, if you remember, Cargo's kind of delayed reaction.
Right.
A couple days later, blew up on him. 1-0 on DJ. Rockies up 7-0. DJ with a ground ball to Gonzalez and a bad throw, and the Rockies won't be an error because the ball came back into play, did not go out of play. The Rockies get another run. LeMahieu will get his 3rd RBI of the night. And Steven Cardullo has his first run scored in the big leagues also.
High fives, handshakes. That dugout. I just love the camaraderie. First you get the throw to short and then trying to hit the moving target. Corey Seager's lucky that went off the netting and not into the dugout. Slip sliding away was J.P. Howell.
Here's Cargo with 2 gone. Cargo in an absolute missile his last time up, but it was right at Josh Reddick. Cargo fired his helmet when he got back to the dugout. He's frustrated and starting to swing the bat better. But you want results too.
Remember earlier he had that ball down the left field line that Howie Kendrick caught.
Yeah, it's a good point. They say football, baseball, game of inches. Couple feet in this case either way. Cargo's probably got a couple of doubles tonight. Three 3-0. They're up 8-0. He for Cargo. It's an automatic take.
Yes.
It's an etiquette thing.
Well, and two, when the Dodgers are playing behind the runner at first base, they've conceded everything. They've kind of waving the white flag.
Eight runs, 12 hits for the Rockies. No runs, just 4 hits for Los Angeles. Hooked foul. Steven Cardullo, last 3 years, was playing for the Rockland Boulders in Sonoma, New York. Huey, as you know, I'm from New York.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
Where is that?
I've never heard of it. 3-2. Cargo rips this one, and that's caught also. Cargo, the baseball gods owe you a couple of hits. Can't hit it any better than that again. Rockies get another run. Steven Cardullo scores his first run after producing his first big league hit. A lot of tears in South Florida in the Cardullo household tonight. 8-0 Colorado.
Never forget, gets his first major league hit. Oh, and his team, they're doing pretty good too. Rocks up 8-0 over the Dodgers as we head to the top of the ninth. Johnny Kapner with Corey Sullivan. We're getting ready for the Toyota postgame show. What a night from 1 to 1,000. We've seen it all.
We have. We've seen lots of milestones, but I don't want John Gray's night to be overshadowed. It's his second straight start where he's throwing the ball really, really well. 6 innings pitch, 8 Ks, only 4 singles he gave up, so he pitched to soft contact, which was a really good job by him.
Yeah, we'll break down John Gray's performance and talk about all those milestones coming up right after the finale of this one. Guys, we'll send it back to you, and we'll see you after baseball.
Jenny, Corey, thank you. Sounds good, and I'm glad Corey mentioned that, because with the offensive fireworks late in this ball game for the Rockies, we should not forget how strong an outing again it was for John Gray. 6 shutout here at Coors Field against a lineup in the second half that's been one of the most formidable in baseball.
And whenever he did maybe walk a guy, he always found a way to get out of it with some pitches, a lot of strikeouts, 8 as we mentioned, had 6 ground ball outs, a couple fly outs. Another solid performance for John.
Some changes in the 9th inning. Carasetti's on the hill. Christian Adames in for Nolan. And Steven Cardullo will stay in and get Cargo off his feet for a few minutes. Carasetti with a strike. We had a nice conversation with Matt this afternoon in the dugout. That outing the other day when it was a similar situation. Rockies had a real big lead on Saturday. And he gave up a hit and then a seeing eye hit, but he put down the inning. And it gave him some confidence again, because he said, you know, I've been getting beat up.
And he knew that too. I mean, he didn't shy away from it and say, well, you know, here, there. He had 3 strikeouts in that game on Saturday. And he came to the realization that he had to go back to pitching his style. And his style is, I'm going to be the aggressor. I'm not going to try to nibble as much as I was early on. My ball has enough movement on it that I just got to let the natural movement take over.
I also think, and he acknowledged this also, said, you know, just a couple weeks ago I'm in AAA and I hadn't even been there that long. I was in AA for most of the year. And now I'm facing guys like Bryce Harper, Jason Worth.
Guys I've been watching on TV.
I mean, we're not putting words in his mouth. This is what he's saying. And every young player, Huey, you went through it.
I went through it.
All of a sudden, you're looking out on the mound. You're saying, man, oh man, that's Nolan Ryan.
Oh my goodness, I'm playing against this guy or that guy, whoever it may be, playing against the Yankees, the Pinstripes, and the Boston Red Sox. Are you kidding me?
Sure, and then from a pitcher standpoint, 2-2 on Seguin. From a pitcher standpoint, you're saying, well, you know, what I was doing before, that can't be good enough to get a Bryce Harper out. I got to be, you know, shave the black, and all of a sudden you get out of what got you here.
And then you get behind, and that was the other thing he said, man. He goes, you can't afford to fall behind at the major leagues because those guys will tee off on you.
3-2. There's weak contact. That fastball is a ton of movement. Descalso throws out Seguin and 1 out.
For Matt, to sit up more on the middle, maybe an inch or two out or an inch or two in, but don't try to go so much on the corner. And I think for that, it's going to help Matt. Andrew Tolles, the pinch hitter.
Charlie Culberson's come out in the on-deck circle. Tolles takes ball 1. He scored the only run in yesterday's game for the Dodgers. 7 for his last 14, make it 8 for his last 15 at the plate. It's going to be a triple.
First of his career. Compact swing. Bit of a leg kick for Tolles. Out of the box, he's just running hard, knowing that everything's in front of him. All the information's there for him to head to third base. Charlie Culberson will pinch hit. Charlie 1 for 6, taking over for Chase Utley tonight.
Charlie grounds to short. That'll get a run home. Nice play by Descalso. And that breaks up the shutout. So it's 8-1. And Howie Kendrick with 2 outs and nobody on in the 9th. Actually, looking at that velocity. Here's a 1-strike pitch to Kendrick outside. Well, this is a tight game early, Huey, and the Rockies pulled away late.
A lot of the damage done off of Adam Liberatore. It's a third of an inning, 3 hits, 4 earned runs. It also takes some pressure off of Wall then, and who's he going to pitch? Because he had Boone Logan up, and then we were referencing that maybe it's going to be Carlos that closes the game out. Well, once it got that big lead, you didn't have to worry about that. You change your thinking.
Off the plate, 3-1. Two outs in the ninth. The Rockies up 8-1.
Walk. Third walk tonight for Howie.
Bring up Seager. A strike. Kendrick moved to second. One and one. Kara said he's still battling that command a little bit.
Had it in the first batter he faced. He's fallen behind. Wolves and now Seager after walking Kendrick.
Is that pitch selection for you there too? You change up 1-1, you're up 7 runs. He's got, there's a lot of natural movement on that fastball. I mean, you said it earlier, set up in the middle. He was talking about it. Set up in the middle, see how they handle the fastball. This is a fly ball to right field, playable out there for Cardullo. That's the ball game. And the Rockies win it 8-1. Over the Dodgers. Great start to this series. Great start to the homestand. John Gray with 6 shutout innings. And then the Rockies opened it up with 5 in the 7th. And they go on to win, going away 8-1 tonight over Los Angeles. They're now 6-7 against the Dodgers this year. And 14-11 against the 3 division leaders in the National League currently. And the first big league hit for that kid, Steven Cardullo. Our Jimmy John's delivery of the game provided by the starter out of the University of Oklahoma, John Gray, with his 9th victory tonight. First victory since early August. John goes 6 innings, allows just 4 hits. He walked 3, he struck out 8. 15th quality start this year for Big John. Rockies win it tonight 8-1. They improved to 63-68. They've won 3 straight. The Dodgers fall to 73 and 58, or 78, excuse me, 77 and 58 on the season. Let's get it in center field. Jenny Cavnar and Corey Sullivan. Guys, all yours.
All right, Drew, thanks so much. 1 down, 8 to go for these Rocks on their homestand.
I like it. 3 in a row. They're starting to play some pretty good baseball.
And we're going to hear from Steven Cardullo. What about his first major league hit? We'll spill it and get all the deets next.